Okay. Hi everyone for checking in. Here's our first of many more Zoom calls to come. My name is Fabian, and I'm the founder and director, whatever you want to call it, for the Sitka Jazz Week. We are in our 4th year, and we are very excited to have one of our many collaborators, but a very important collaborator here with us on the Zoom call, which is John Damberg up in Anchorage. He runs the Alaska Jazz Workshop for about 30 years, and I had been reaching out to John about 3 years ago. John, I think I reached out to you a couple of times, and it was really funny how I got to know John. So I had the idea for Sitka Jazz Week about 4 or 5 years ago, and met a young drummer. His name was Landon, down in Alabama. So he said, why don't you come down and do we're going to go to some university. So I actually went down to where he was living and ran into this piano Steinway shop and put up a flyer for Sitka Jazz Week in Alaska. And the guy said, oh, we just hired a guy. He's a piano tuner. He worked in Anchorage. You should really get to know him. So I got his card and talked to this piano tuner. And he said, well, if you're doing Sitka Jazz Week in Alaska, you want to meet a guy. His name is John Damberg in Anchorage. And then I reached out to you, John, and turned out we already had met in 2011 when we came to Anchorage with Jason Marsalis with the Native Jazz Quartet. And so we just started reconnecting. I just had done my first year of Sitka Jazz Week in, let me see, we are in 2023. I already had that under my belt, so I think I reached out to you at the end of 2023. And then I invited you to Sitka Jazz Week of 2024, and we started collaborating. So, but just to give you a brief rundown for Sitka Jazz Week, it's a performance-oriented workshop. So we start performing from day one. So it starts on a Sunday. So this year we're starting on August 23rd, going to August 30th. So usually Sunday is arrival day. Then we have a meet and greet on Sunday night. Then on Monday, we start performing right away. So I had a short talk with John a couple of days ago, and it reminded me of, so here's a couple of quotes of a couple of world-class musicians. So I studied with Mike Longo for many years. He studied with Oscar Peterson. Oscar Peterson, if you don't know him, look him up, one of the greatest piano players. He said, the environment which produces a jazz musician is the bandstand. And we also have a supporter for Sitka Jazz Week. His name is Ron Carter, who shares the same philosophy that the environment which produces a jazz musician is the bandstand. So here we come to the really groundbreaking difference of Sitka Jazz Week compared to all the other camps. Most, if not all, other camps. You go for a week, you play, you learn, you listen to the teacher perform, and then on the last day, or the second to last day, the student has a performance. Ideally, portraying all the things they learned in this 1 week they had been taught, and it's great. However, this one performance can make this participant or sometimes break the participant. Many times I have seen all this excitement building up in a week or two of a camp, and then it can go great. But what if for the participant this performance is not going that great? Many times, very talented musicians make their decision if they want to become a musician or continue being a musician. They take this performance as a measurement and say, music is not for me. I really didn't do that well on this final performance. Too much pressure. I was too nervous. I didn't feel comfortable. So sometimes, and that's what happens to me a little bit in my life, Sitka Jazz Week is really for the people who kind of falling through the cracks a little bit. But however, Sitka Jazz Week, we perform from day one. So you arrive on Sunday, on Monday you will perform. And you can perform twice. You can perform twice on Tuesday, you can perform twice on Wednesday, you can perform twice on Thursday. So It's an all ages program. And what came to me based on these quotes of Ron Carter and Mike Longo was saying that, I started with Mike for 18 years. He always said that, Oscar Peterson said that the environment which produces a jazz musician or a musician is the bandstand. It can be any type of performance, but here is the profound difference of Sitka Jazz Week, the profound difference. We're performing from day one, and we have, again, about 6 Zoom calls coming up, and there will be participants of previous Jazz Weeks talking about their experience, how they benefited, and also teachers. We have Heather Gluth, who is a music teacher in Sitka from the Mount Edgecombe High School, who's talking about the benefits she had of Sitka Jazz Week. So what we really want to do, we want to embrace the not perfect performance environment. So if you arrive on a Sunday and start performing on a Monday, it won't most likely not be perfect. However, we will have recaps and talk about the performance. And it's really important that you embrace that not perfect performance environment, because that's, and John will, I give the word to you in a minute or two, you can confirm that it's many times not perfect when we perform. However, it will help you focus on what you are all about and what you want to bring to the bandstand. And just be yourself and focus on the music, and allow your focus to be on the music in a not perfect performing environment, and allow yourself to do a better job the next time around. And the beauty of Sitka Jazz Week is we have afternoon performance. They start around noontime till 3 p.m. and we have 4 live bands all over town. And what we usually say, we recommend you bring a couple of songs, maybe just one song, it's fine. And you go to the first rhythm sections, you play your song, and then you go to your other band and you play your song there, and then you do it all over on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So what has happened, just to give you one example before I give it up to John, and then we're going into details. We talk about the schedule, we talk about the other teachers, we talk about performances the teachers do during Jazz Week. We're really going to go into detail quickly. However, this one gentleman last year, his name was Jack, he was a bass player. He didn't know what to play on Monday. He remembered some songs he was doing. He was a student, or is still a student, of the Mount Edgecombe High School. And then he performed the second time in the second set on the Monday afternoon performances. And then he got into his own on Tuesday, the first time and the second time around. And on Tuesday afternoon, we have a callback, so to speak, after the performances. We talk about how everything went. And he was just beaming from excitement. He's like, I really had no idea what to do yesterday. And then we played. And on Tuesday afternoon, he played 3 songs. And he had one of the best experiences ever. So here, again, that's the last thing I'm going to say for now. The profound difference of Sitka Jazz Week, we start performing from day one. And we get all these insecurities, and we get everything happens, and hopefully a lot happens, and we embrace, we want you to embrace the not perfect performing experience and have fun performing music. And what's happening, we are in the middle of the summer in Sitka, there's a lot of tourists in the afternoon, people you don't know, doesn't really matter, but the feedback of the audience is very encouraging, and we just want you to have a good time. And we start out where many people start out maybe after a week or 2 of a workshop, and it's just not perfect. But what's happening by the time Thursday comes around, really people are excelling and performing at their best. So anyway, John, I'm done with my little introductory talk here, and I give it up to you. And you came, and I invited you for 2024, and you've been part of the Sitka Jazz Week 2025. We have done tours with Bernard Purdie, and I just sent you a great live recording yesterday. We did a beautiful second time around. We played the Crystal Saloon in Juneau, and we actually have a really good live recording. and you've been part of the whole thing. I have come up to Anchorage, and I'm really, I know sometimes I forget you to tag into my social media posts, but I really officially on Zoom, I want to thank you for all the hours of conversations and inspiration. And I think by now we inspire each other a little bit, but you really have been a backbone also, like many other people, a backbone of the Sitka Jazz Week. And you have become a strong supporter, and you also have become a critic in terms of constructive criticism. And we really have done the journey together. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you to John Damberg from Anchorage, who is an amazing percussionist, vibraphone player, educator, and also composer, arranger. And you've been also in there for the long haul. So really, I want to, from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you, number one. Number two, I want to thank you to be part of this Zoom call. And here we go. You got the floor.
Okay, thank you, Christian. I appreciate it. First of all, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you great. I'm going to mute myself so we don't have any distractions. Go ahead.
Good. Well, as Christian mentioned, I've been a percussion teacher here at the University of Alaska Anchorage for the last 34 years, and I started a community jazz organization called the Alaska Jazz Workshop back in 1995, and we incorporated as a nonprofit in 2000. And we run community programs, including a summer jazz camp like the Sitka Jazz Camp. And we also run weekly jazz classes. We run Monday community jazz jam session. And we take students on field trips. We go in the schools and work with the students to inspire them to be better players and in a comfortable, safe learning environment. And this is one thing I think the Sitka Jazz Week is it's, as you were saying, this is where students who are curious, want to learn more, and have, at any stage of their life, want to travel to a beautiful place that Sitka is, enjoy the milieu of Sitka with all its beautiful mountains and hiking trails and biking and great cuisine opportunities for dining and all that kind of stuff, but also have it be focused on music and learning more about how to play on the bandstand and in the classroom with very supportive professional musicians who are also teachers too. And you get a chance, as you were saying, to bring 2 or 3 songs that you've been working on, and from day one, perform. There's the class, usually have classes in the morning, have lunch, and then go out and perform in the afternoon. And you have all these cool different rhythm sections based in different restaurants around town and at the Stevenson Hall where we do all our classes. And it's a really fun environment to, say if you're working on a tune like Autumn Leaves, try it out with 4 different bands in a real world situation where everybody communicates a little bit differently. And you have to use eye contact, you have to tell the band how you want to do the song, and it allows you to like dig deeper into the tune, and possibly it's best if you can memorize your song. But it's a great experience. There's lots of things that we'll talk about in a few minutes as Christian can sort of run us through the gamut here of people who have questions like, how do I get to Sitka? How much does the camp cost? Where do I stay? All the logistical things. Who are the teachers? Why would I want to come to Sitka versus going someplace else? I live in New York. What's cool about Sitka? Or I live in Japan. Why would I want to go to Sitka?
Yeah,
Right?
why you want to go to Sitka? Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And if you're a musician, I look at it as, wow, it's like the best of both worlds. You get to hang out with world-class faculty in a very supportive musical learning situation in a gorgeous place. And you can't beat the scenery in Sitka. And it's just a lovely place to hang out for a week and have a life-changing experience. The way I look at this and the way I sum this up is the Sitka Jazz Week is a one-of-a-kind transformative performance-based camp You learn valuable real-world performance and communication skills in safe, supportive bandstand and classroom learning environments from great seasoned professional performing musicians who are also teachers. And they'll do their best to help you out become a better player and enjoy it. And plus, it's also a great networking situation too. If you want to meet some new people, get outside of your usual, community of the people you play with. This is a great chance to take your playing to the next level. So, go ahead.
Yeah, that's great, John. Absolutely. And I had so many teachers in my life, and what's interesting to me sometimes, you see all these great musicians at their best, and they're not really with you in a moment where you're struggling. So I think one of the benefits of the Sitka Jazz Week, first of all, the mentors and the teachers and the people who played all over the world, world-class musicians, are with the participant, because we are an all-ages program. They're with them the entire week. And what you just were pointing out at Stevenson Hall is where we all meet. We have breakfast, we have lunch. So that's where we convene. And it's a great place for the participants and the musicians to connect. And what happens, like by the end of the week, we are one big, great family. And so what happens really, you become comfortable with each other, and you can ask each other questions you cannot ask great musicians when you go backstage after a great performance. You really we are showing our vulnerability a little bit, and that's an element which I carry with me, probably still carry with me, but it's I started with the Grand Rock Carter for 6 years. I was with Mike Longo for 18 years, so it takes a couple of years for someone to warm up and really talk about something you're really struggling with, and many times I do workshops. So this element is exposed right from the beginning at Sitka Jazz Week, number one. Number two, you pointed out why Sitka. Sitka is, in a way, so, I live in New York City, you live in Anchorage, so there's one thing, when you live in a big town, you can rent a facility, which is a lot of money. Hotel rooms prices are up. So sometimes it's you and I happen to the Victor Wooten camps, which are in the middle of nowhere, an hour west of Nashville, and you're in a bunkhouse with bunk beds and everything. So you're looking for an environment, and they're great camps, by the way. Really check out Victor Wooten. John checked it out, and it's very inspiring. It's totally different than Jazz Week, but one thing about going to different camps, you check them all out, and then when you do your own camp, you kind of figure out what is it you want to bring to the table. And Sitka is a low overhead. We have discounted hotel rooms. For the peak season in Sitka, we can offer hotel rooms for half the price, which is amazing. So if you sign up for Sitka Jazz Week, you can experience Sitka in the peak season for half the money. That's number one. Number two, our Jazz Week is only $750 a week, which includes breakfast and lunch. And we eat breakfast together, and we eat lunch together. So right from the get-go, the teachers with the participants and everyone, we becoming a big family, and you really can let your guard down. You really connect. You hear some jokes. You hear life-changing stories you don't hear in a 2-hour workshop. You really get to know these great musicians like Bernard Purdie, who played most recorded drummer in history of music. And you can also check out, hang out with Cleve Guyton, who's playing with Lionel Hampton Big Band, Count Basie Big Band, Duke Ellington Big Band, Quincy Jones. You can hang out with him. You can John Damberg has an amazing history. Last year we had Ann Phillips, great vocalist. You can hang out with Heather Gluth, a local, very great established musicians who've been all over Southeast Alaska and all over the United States. And I mean, there's a long list. You can hang out with Chaz Giss. We had Austin Hayes from Ketchikan, Rob Cohen from Juneau. I mean, we have really, we have a local musician, we have regional musicians, and we have world-class musicians. So there's really a kind of a small little melting pot of all these different musicians, sharing their experience with the participants. And, anyone can share, everyone's experience is different. So anyway, coming back to also why we're doing the Zoom calls right now. Right now is a perfect time to book your airfare going to Sitka, Alaska. Right now, a round trip from here, JFK EWR, is about $600+ if you go a round trip to Sitka, and then you can get a cheap hotel or half price hotel, and $750 for the week, including breakfast and lunch. And really what you're getting not a 2 hour less, like sometimes you pay, for certain guys you pay between right now lesson price, for certain people it's between $100 and $200 for a 1 hour lesson, if you want to study with the world-class musicians here in Manhattan. Maybe $250 sometimes for certain classical musicians, you pay more money. But there are all these benefits, you do definitely spend some money, but you get a lot in your return. And in many cases, you have a transformative experience and you get a lifelong mentorship and friendship, which you cannot really pay for. We had, last year we had Sergio Bellotti and his wife, Terry Cote, came all the way from Boston. Sergio is a drum professor at Berklee College of Music, to hang out with Bernard Purdie, which is amazing. And it was a life-changing experience for him. And he already playing all his life, And then, you can build a relationship with all the other musicians. It's really, it's hard to describe in words what's going on there energetically at the Sitka Jazz Week. But if you go to our Facebook site, Sitka Jazz Week, on Facebook, or you go to our YouTube channel, Sitka Jazz Week YouTube channel, you can see some of the testimonials of what people have said coming to Sitka Jazz Week. So anyway, the tuition, to repeat, is $750 for the week, including lunch and breakfast and all the performance possibilities you can have. The hotel right now, we have a discount code, and we recommend that you sign up before May 1st. And you really get the peak season right now, a hotel room in Sitka, Alaska, and it's one of, they call it and I don't know why they call it that way, the Paris of the Southeast Alaska, has nothing to do with Paris, but I always say, there's a lot of charm in Sitka. And why Sitka? Sitka is a very artsy town. I would say next to, of course, Anchorage too, but next to Ketchikan there's a lot of artists living in the town. There's a lot of music. We have a lot of music camps in that town. We are collaborating also with the Sitka Music Festival. Thank you to Alex Serio and Zul Bailey. They're in close to their 50-some years of doing the Sitka Music Festival there with classical music, and also branching out now into an all-year-round program. And it's called the Sitka Summer Music Festival was the original name. However, we are housed in Stevenson Hall, which is a beautiful state-of-the-art music building. We have a Steinway piano. We have, all the musicians, and John, the teachers and mentors, are housed in that building. And everything is walking distance. So there's hardly any commute to your location. So it's really, you don't walk longer than 5 minutes from your hotel to go to Stevens Hall. So there's a lot of distractions you have in a larger city and a larger environment. You don't deal with that in Sitka. So that's a big plus for Sitka. You really immerse yourself in this 7-day, all music, all around. Ultimately, you have if you really participate and show up, and I have a sample schedule for you to show from last year. If you show up and immerse yourself, you really, at least I would say 6 to 8, 12 hours. Talking about Sergio and Andy, another drummer who came from the Boston area, they were hanging out with Bernard, I would say 3 to 6 hours a day. You don't get that. You really, of what you can do at the Sitka Jazz Week, you couldn't really put a price tag on it. So anyway, I give the word to you, John. I know you maybe got some ideas of what I was saying, and maybe I left something out, so just please fill in. But I have a schedule, and when you're done, I show you a sample schedule very quickly.
Okay, am I on?
Yes, you're on.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. last summer, I got a grant from the John Stites Jazz Education Foundation to go attend 3 other jazz camps. So I'm going to compare those to the Sitka Jazz Week. As far as cost, it costs me for 1 week experience, uh, not including airfare, somewhere between 2,500 and $3,500 to attend Jazz Camp West, southwest of San Francisco, to attend the Victor Wooten Camp outside of Nashville, and also to attend Jazz Port Townsend on the Olympic Peninsula in Washington. And those camps, while they were okay, they all had their, various sizes. The largest one was Jazz Camp West, which had a population of like 330 people. And there was a lot of commingling between the teachers and the students at mealtime and in the classes. And that was really cool. But that was an extension of the Oakland Jazz Workshop. So that was just another one of their events. So they had a lot of return people that would come there every year. The Jazz Port Townsend was mainly geared towards high school and college kids, and it's held at Fort Worden on the Olympic Peninsula, and they host a lot of different kinds of arts events. So they only had like 145 people, and there was no commingling between the students and the teachers. The teachers would show up for their class and they would disappear after that. And they had great teachers concerts, but there was no combination student-teacher concerts.
That's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, so that really sort of turned me off in a way. I thought that there should be more commingling. Sure, you want to support all the high-end pros and watch them play and do their thing, but that's the nice thing about Jazz Camp West, is there was a lot of commingling in the performance and in the teaching and all that kind of thing. And in Victor Wooten's camp had about 60 players. His was the most down home. His was more of a spiritual camp, how to get into your creative space, how to, he was full of little like one-liners like, just try simple, or take it easy, or, take a moment and find your place in the music. So rather than just jump in and feel like you have to occupy all the musical landscape when you're a player, sit back and sort of check out the vibe of the group, right? And this camp, the Sitka Jazz Week, is a great place to check out how your vibe works with the vibe of everybody else in the room, in different bands, and then also at the hang for breakfast and lunch. And then you get a chance, because it's a small environment, to hang out, like with Bernard Purdy, or if you want to hang out with Christian, or you want to hang out with me, or Sergio, or don't forget about Matt King. Matt King is an incredible keyboard player that comes from New Jersey.
Absolutely, yeah.
He's like world class. This guy he's got his one hand spans my two hands, and he works with vocalists. He's very simpatico with working with all sorts of musicians, and with the people that we work with, our mission number one is to help you become a better player and feel better about your time on the bandstand. So if you have anxiety about getting up on the bandstand because maybe you feel like in a jam session, it's a cutting session, it's like shootout at the OK Corral, like who can play the fastest, highest, who plays the hardest tune. We aren't into that. If you want to play just a simple 12-bar blues or Song from My Father, or whatever song you happen to be working on, we'll work on it. If you're a vocalist, Ann Phillips and Heather will help coach you into developing better vocal support from your diaphragm with exercises, fun exercises, tunes, how to interpret songs, how to bring the lyrics to life. What do you do? I mean, Ann Phillips is like an icon in the industry in New York, not only as a great vocalist and a teacher, but she also had a huge advertising company with Coca-Cola and all these different things. She's got a program that Christian was involved with this year called the Jazz Nativity that features top flight musicians. She had Ingrid Jensen this year. Didn't she have Paquito de Rivera?
Paquito de Rivera.
Yeah.
Then great New York musicians, Tim Horner.
Yeah.
Scott Robinson on saxophone. I mean, these are all top names. And she had Judy Silvano. That's um, uh, she's the wife of a famous tenor player. No, I forgot the name.
Yeah, don't worry
But
about it.
I mean, it's just some top musicians. Two things I want to just go ahead. Just had the two things to interject. Oh, go ahead. You were still talking. Yeah. So two things. I'm glad you said it about Victor. He has these little bits of wisdom. And when I studied with Mike Longo, he studied with Oscar Peterson, and Oscar was very much focused on what works on the bandstand, right? So let's say, I'm always like, I do these camps and like they tell you all the modes, and like Dorian mode and the Mixolydian mode, and then the student can barely play the scale, and then after a week they say, do a solo. I mean, it's like, they're like shell shocked, they just know, they don't know that there's a rhythm, they don't know about melodic phrasing, all of this. So Oscar Peterson always said, you got to use things which work on the bandstand. So that's the thing. And the only way for you to find out what works on the bandstand is if you perform a lot, right? So that's another benefit of the Sitka Jazz Week. You will perform every day and you find out what will work for you. Maybe it won't work perfect, but it works so much that it will give you a path and a direction you can embrace and work on and go to, which improves everything else you are doing. The other thing you were saying is that's one of the big lessons, we learn through osmosis, really. That's where the hanging out part comes in. I was once at back then they called it the IAGA, International Association for Jazz Education. I went to a clinic with Horace Silver and Randy Brecker, and Randy Brecker was saying, it's like, yeah, these days it's all about like social media and networking, Back then in the day when I was coming up, we just called it hanging out. And it reminds me of what's happening at Stevenson Hall. So everyone who's listening to the Stevenson Hall is where the hall we are renting from the Sitka Music Festival, who's hosting the Jazz Week. That's where we hang out for hours a day. That's where the magic happens, And osmosis is really an energy exchange. You hang out with the people who are doing what you would like to do. And you ask questions and you get a feel for what these people are all about. They're very kind people. There's a certain behavior as a working musician no one talks about, which goes with that too. These days, a lot of young people, they want to be the hot player, but no one hires them to go on the road for a week because they don't want to hang out with them. So no one talks about it, but that's really, my forte was always that elderly musicians always like me. They always like to have me around. I wasn't always the greatest player, but, not always, but a lot of times, when I was living in the Netherlands, I was working with these musicians, and there was a bass player who could play twice as fast on the instrument and knew more songs and everything, but he had what they called an attitude, And when I came around, they're like, man, we've been working with this guy, and man, it's such a pleasure to be with you. And I can not do half of the stuff the other guys can do. It's like, don't worry about it. We show you what you need to know. So there you go. I was playing every weekend. I was playing weddings. I learned songs. The drummer had me over. We rehearsed songs, and it's like, don't worry about it. They took me under the wing, and I don't know what they saw in me, but thank God they saw something in me, because before I knew it, had an income, and I was able to pay my rent in the Netherlands, and I was doing all these great things, But I learned my lesson. I'm not I'm not stupid as I look. That's kind of funny. But anyway, I learned my lesson, and I noticed, I had something which they wanted to have, So there's this other element, especially these days. It's all about, we are in a how many likes you have on social media and all of this. I'm not downplaying that. I'm working on that too. But I mean, there are other elements which you bring to a bandstand and to a band energetically, which makes you attractive for a band to hire you. So for whatever reason, that got me to playing with Gary Burton. I played with the Lionel Hampton Big Band. You know, I played on the West Coast with a project with Eric Marinthal, Mitch Foreman, all the greatest musicians I could only dream of to work with got me that. I'm not saying that that's what it is. Obviously, you know, I worked on my craft as well. But the element of osmosis, the element of hanging out, and the element of what John was saying, what happens during Sitka Jazz Week, and what you were saying when you started off, comparing the camps with the other camps and how much money you pay. You know, I would think that the element of really mingling with your mentors and world-class musicians as a participant is a given at Sitka Jazz Week. I mean, there's no way around. We're going to live together. We're going to spend a lot of time together. And we have over 70% return rate of people who did at Sitka Jazz Week. You know, they not all of them can come, but they all want to come back. And I think that's one of the elements is the hanging out, what you were bringing up, John. And I just want to reiterate on what you were saying. So you were saying the amount of money you spent of all those 3 other camps you went to. And I guess, so right now, go ahead, please.
Yeah, so what I was going to say is the expense of coming to Sitka is either comparable or actually a better deal than going to those other camps for what you get. The way I look at the Sitka camp, the Sitka Jazz Week, is that every day we have the breakfast hang, which is really cool. The food is great. The O'Meara makes great food. Celia, Bernard's wife, she helps out. We have a lot of helpers help out, and you can help out too when you're there. And so the food is great. Then we have classes in the morning that's like ready, set, go. Then we have a great lunch, and then it's like, let's go out into the community and try out what you just learned this morning. Take your couple of tunes out, play, and then later on in the afternoon, at 3 o'clock, we have a talk back, which is like a decompression, and we talk about with the students, the camp participants, like what worked on the bandstand. Did you have any epiphanies? Did you learn something from band A or band B? And that's a great thing. And then there's plenty of free time later on in the afternoon to explore all the great stuff that Sitka has to offer, walking around. 5 minutes, you're out in the woods. And we have the National Historic Totem Park, just a 10-minute walk away. We have biking. We have hiking up in the mountains. We have, you can go into town, walk around, see the stores, have a dining experience for dinner, check out where you want to have dinner. We do all sorts of great things. There's the different places we play. There's a great coffee house called Jazz Espresso downtown where we do have a jam session down there. So it's really a lot of fun to come. And the whole week, you're performing all week long, hanging out with the great musicians and learning little tips like the Victor Wooten tip, like just try simple from all the musicians and learning their backstory. And this is, like I say before, is in a supportive environment. I've worked with some of the greatest players in the business. From my training, my background training is in symphonic orchestral percussion and jazz. I grew up in Detroit, and I played with the Detroit Symphony. I did the Broadway shows out in New York. I was a session man for Motown Records. I've done lots of show work in Seattle when I lived there in Broadway shows. I work with Quincy Jones. I work with Ray Charles. And all those big guys, when they talk about music, they never demean each other. They always want to do what's best for the music. And they cut to the chase. They just talk about, like, this needs to be louder, that needs to be softer, we need a more steady tempo here. Things they all respect each other's playing ability. Otherwise, it's like if I was going to hire Christian, I would hire Christian because I know he's a great player. And I might need to tweak him, or he might need to tweak me if he's got an idea of a song. But I'm open to that, and he knows that I'm open, and I know he's open. And that's that people thing. You got to be able to work with other people. And a lot of this stuff you learn by mentorship and copying how other people are. Like Bernard Purdy's one of the nicest people in the world. Sergio is great. Matt is really great. Heather, she'd take the shirt off her back to help you out, right? She's really working like time and a half over there at Mount Edgecombe High School to help those kids. She's a really great singer, great classical singer, jazz singer, uh, which I say gospel style singer, sax player. I mean, you can't beat it. So I think there's plenty of time for just coming and to this place, slowing down because that's just the vibe of Sitka. You just want to slow down and smell the roses. And so by smelling the roses, you get a chance to hang out with the artist. You get a chance to go out and walk around, see the beautiful scenery, and don't forget about the spawning salmon. We have a tremendous amount of spawning salmon just on the other side. There's a river that comes right up the other side of the
Indian
campus.
River, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, you can walk over there and walk through the woods and see these Sitka spruce. There's just a gigantic Sitka spruce trees, and you got all these salmon running up and down the river. So if you want to check out some salmon, and then also, are we going to
Barbecue.
do the salmon barbecue this year again with Kendall?
Well, I'm in touch with Kendall. He's moving around the country quite a bit. You know, his mom is I think, in Wyoming or something, and he, yeah, I don't know. I'm in touch with him, so I'm already texting him. It's like, hey, do we want to do the barbecue? This is gentleman. His name is Kendall Folkert. He was introduced to me by a really, really great friend, also a great musician in Sitka. His name is Hank Moore. And Kendall had been also a drummer, and he had been doing this amazing barbecue. By the way, I put up the schedule. I don't know if you can see it. I just want to give you a brief rundown. But he has put up the barbecue, and it's so popular that we had it back for a second time last year. And he brings the freshest salmon. We're going to a beach. We're putting up campfire, and we're just hanging out, and it's just gorgeous. And we really had an amazing summer last year. I mean, we had sunshine every day. It was amazing. So one more time, quick. Go to sitkajazzweek.org. That's our website. You can also, we are on Instagram. Sitka Jazz Week on Instagram, Sitka Jazz Week on Facebook. And our email is sitkajazzweek@gmail.com. And then also, John, you can give if, after I'm done with the schedule, you can plug what you have in Anchorage coming up as well. But here's a schedule from last year. So you will see that, so the Sunday really, don't mind the dates over there. It says the 24th. This year we're starting on the 23rd. It's arrival check-in. Usually we have a meet and greet on Sunday night, but we're starting right on Monday morning. One of the hard pieces of the workshop is the drum workshop I learned from Mike Longo, which he learned from Dizzy. So there's a legacy tradition going on here. It's just a little drum warm-up we do every morning, which will really help you with developing your rhythm. And it actually, I have not talked too much about it, but it opens up a lot of other doors to a lot of other things, which I tell you when you come to Sitka Jazz Week. So we do that every morning. We do in the drum workshop. Then we have, so all our teaching and sharing happens in the morning, usually between 9 and noon, but our drum workshop starts at 8:30. And then we have, we have just some of the classes. They change every year, and people do master classes, but Intro to Jazz Week, Improv Basics, we talk about just a couple of basics about improvisation, and then how to get, just right on the first day, we talk about how to get ready for a performance. We talk about what we do, what everyone on every level does. If you're advanced, beginner, or intermediate, we talk about that. And then between 10 and 11, but we have started when John came and really became obvious last year, we have master classes by instrument. So we have the drummers are going to be with Bernard Purdy and Sergio and his wife Terry. Then John can be either with the vibraphone players. Last you were also with the drummers, and you can also do improv classes with all instruments. We have the piano players with Matt King and Rob Cohen, and then we have the bass players with me and Chaz Gist, and Chaz is also covering the guitar. And then we have the horn players. All of them can be with Cleve Guyton. Then depending on what, we also have Alex Serio is doing trumpet. If there is a trumpet player who needs extra attention, the vocalist will be with Heather Gluth and Ann Phillips. So that's where the master classes happen. happen, and you have them every day from 10 to 11. And then we're going back to a masterclass. So John did a masterclass, topic to be announced. Matt King did a masterclass about the Circle of Fifth. So we have a curriculum, but we're also looking at what people need when they get to Jazz Week. So there's part of this we have to cover, which in my mind is the drum workshop, the drum warm-up, and everything drum related, which I learned from Mike Longo, which was related to him to Dizzy Gillespie. That's a very fundamental thing we need to do every day, and we're doing it every day from year one, which was 2023. And then we're going to cover also, depending on what certain players need. So on Monday, we really jump in cold to the afternoon performances. You see, we have lunch after the morning classes. Then 3 concerts. We have 3 stages, but last year we had 4 stages. The Roundabout, the Food Court, we have the Highliner, the Bayview Pub, Stevenson Hall. So the first day, we just want you to jump in there, perform, have fun. There will be mentors and experienced musicians at every stage. So we do your thing, and then we just jump in there. And then also we see what you will need in order to do better right after the break or right after lunch. So sometimes we will have a talk back right there, when you don't play. And one of the other musicians comes over and say, let's do this. So there's some beautiful pictures on the Facebook site where you see Rob Cohen at the Highliner just jumping in there, working with the horn players. It's beautiful pictures. We have hundreds and hundreds of pictures. If you really want to know what this week is all about, go to our Facebook site, Sitka Jazz Week Facebook. Anyway, we have the afternoon concerts, and then you see our talk back at 3 p.m. We're going to reconvene at Stevenson Hall, talk about what happened for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. It was very popular last year. We had a lot of talk back. And then there's free time, or we can do the things what John just pointed out. You can go hiking, rent a bike, do some of the biking trades, or what we are going to do, what a lot of we are talking about a lot, private lessons. So there was a demand for private lessons also. So those lessons are not included in your $750 tuition for the week with breakfast and lunch. You have to pay for the private lessons. So John and Phillips, Heather, Matt, Cleve, Chaz, and Rob Cohen, and Sergio, and Terry, we're all talking about, I hope I'm not leaving anyone out. It's a pretty big group you're hanging out there with. It's really amazing. So we're talking about, there was a request for private lessons. They can go into the evening. Evening, we give you some time off. And then we have at the bottom evening events. We have an open rehearsal. You can see how the pros and the more experienced musicians rehearse. John did a concert with his music at the Mean Queen last year, and then usually the Mean Queen is our evening stage for Chaz Giz has his trio, and there will be some surprises. And Phillips had, you see on Friday, she was back at Stevenson Hall, which was packed last year. There was not one open seat when Anne did her performance, Survivors of the Music Business. And I don't know where all the people came from. I did my usual advertising, but I was like, my jaw was kind of like on the floor because I counted. I think Stevenson Hall is a pretty spacious room, but we had every seat filled, 68 people. That was amazing. And anyway, and then we have a big blowout on Saturday night. We have a huge blowout. This year is going to be really special, but all the concerts are for free for the community. And we have one event, which is the Island event, which is our jazz gala, where people, they have to come and they have to pay for it. It's usually $175, but it's a 3 to 4 hour event with a full cruise, and there's a full spread of crab, salmon, roast beef, steak, whatever you want to call it, dessert, and a bar and live music. And we have a very really great surprise for you this year, which will include a CD release concert, which I'm not going to mention who is on that CD, but we're going to have, introducing a new CD with all the musicians who will be there. And it's going to be great. So anyway, John, if you want to jump in there, I probably left some things out, but if you want to jump in there, say something, or this is just a schedule. Do you want me to keep sharing it, or do you?
Yeah. Here's what I'd say too. This schedule is great in that it allows you to focus on your music, hang, and education. Which, as an older person myself, when I go travel, say like to Europe or someplace, I need a reason to go. But I like to be there for a while so I can sort of check out the area. So this is a perfect vehicle for if you really want to check out Sitka and you've never been there, and a lot of people do this as their bucket list as they get older. We work with a lot of folks who are retired, professionals, business people, that have the time and they want to do something that's meaningful. They were musicians in middle school, high school, and they maybe put the clarinet or bass in the closet while they became a doctor, a lawyer, or businessman, and had a family, and now their families are grown up, and now they have free time to go play music. And they want to connect up with other people, like-minded people who want to play music. So this is a great chance to hang out in a beautiful place, check it out on a deeper level, and have a focal point of doing music. And so it's like having a double duty. You're having a great musical experience with great people, and you're also getting to hang out in a great spot, and you're slowing down. So if you come from like LA or New York, where everything's going 90 miles a minute, well, this is just the opposite. You got a chance just like kick back, have an espresso, relax, talk to somebody, and this is the place that I worked in tourism for Holland America for 10 years, and we would get on the cruise ships and go to port to port to port to port, and you only maybe have 5 or 6 hours in the port, and that's it. So you don't get a chance to see any of the backstory, talk to people. You go down and have your coffee and your lunch or whatever, maybe take a canoe trip or a kayak trip for an hour or two, then you're back on the ship. So you really, when you go on a cruise ship, you're out really on a cruise ship to spend all your time on the cruise ship. Whereas this, we're here to really dig into music, expand our music knowledge and our appreciation and dig in a little bit more, hone our craft, and also explore the area and network and make some new friends. I mean, this kind of music is all about, like Christian was talking about, the hang. It's like, who do you know? I can pretty much go to almost any major city from my musical background and call somebody up. Like, I know probably 40 people in New York. I could call up and say, hey, I'm coming to New York next week. Can I maybe crash on your couch or something like that? Or can we just get together and have lunch? Let's catch up. Or LA or Seattle or Detroit.
My couch is there for you.
Okay. But so something like this, I think you have to look beyond just the cost of getting there, as that what do you get for that cost and that dollar? I think the value, like I figured out, I went to Europe a couple of years ago, to Iceland and Paris and down to Toulouse, and for 3 weeks it cost me $5,000, right? And that was cheap for going to all those places, but that's because I really did a lot of homework. Now, the other thing, when you come to this camp, you're going to instantly interface with a lot of in-town people that know the cool stuff to do that the people don't talk about, right? And if you just ask them like, hey, I got this afternoon free, where should I go ride my bike? Or I'm a history buff. Where can I find out about the history of Sitka, which is one of the two, Russian-American towns that they founded. And there's a lot of history in Sitka, right? This is the place where Russia sold Alaska to the United States to. So, I mean, there's all that other kind of background stuff that you instantly have an inside track and then the music thing, too. You never know that you might meet a teacher like Christian or Matt or me, who you might want to then either via Zoom or go study with them for a while. Yeah. Or they might, with my association with Anchorage for the last 35 years, I know everything there is to do about stuff up here. So with my Alaska Jazz workshop, and I'll put in a plug for that. If you want to find out more about the Alaska Jazz Workshop and jazz events around Anchorage, go to our website. Just Google Alaska Jazz or Alaska Jazz Workshop, or the website's www.akjazzworkshop.org. We run a Monday night jam session at the Fire Island Bakery from 6:30 to 9:30. Every week we have 40 to 90 people come out and watch. We have usually 15 to 20 people sit in. It's great. Bring an instrument or just bring your ears and listen. And we have connections to all the jazz events around here. So it's a great networking. And we also have the Sitka Jazz Week on that too. So Alaska's becoming more and more of a place where all the different communities, Juneau, Sitka, Anchorage, Ketchikan, are all sort of becoming one big happy community. And we communicate and we share events and we share places to play, which you might want to talk about our little tour we go on.
Yeah, we do that too. That's very quick. So my favorite phrase, teamwork makes the dream work. So that's really what it's all about. And we displaying the teamwork sense also when you come to Sitka Jazz Week. The other thing you brought up, John, I want to pick up on it in terms of Sitka Jazz Week is really all ages. So my philosophy is, and it has been proven to myself and many others, when it comes to learning, you cannot put a number to your bodily age when it comes to learning. Learning is an energy. So the way you learn the most efficient is you forget about everything and really devote yourself to a subject matter and really dig in there and have fun doing it. So that can be, in young ages, it could be in the middle ages. The problem is when you get older, people don't allow themselves to have fun anymore. Everything's like so serious, all right? And then they get all, my mother's 91 and like every other time I call her, she's like, oh, and I said to my mother, it's just a number. It's just a number. Because she's still taking classes. She's taking a Swedish class and she's taking some sewing classes. So here's the key when it comes to learning. Don't put a number on it. It's really follow your heart's desire. And if anything resonates with you in Sitka Jazz Week, I highly encourage you to come and sign up. And so John was saying it's amazing what happens in Anchorage. I've been to the Fire Island Bakery. It's really, Nick Patuminus runs a great jam session. He's also part of the Alaska Jazz Workshop. So, we are also getting close to the 1 hour mark, but I want to say that about learning, it's all ages. So again, you can find John at alaskajazzworkshop.org, I think, right? Or .com.
Right, .org.
.org. And Sitka Jazz Workshop, www.sitkajazzworkshop.org, and you find us on Facebook. You can sign up on the website. And I do want to say we had Ann Phillips talking about age, and she's one of my great teachers. Ann Phillips is also 91 or 92, and she is a great teacher. She's still studying and learning. And when she had her event last year at Stevenson Hall, we had to add seats from the kitchen because the Stevenson Hall was packed. I mean, she's really a powerhouse. You really want to experience her, and she's really strongly considering coming back to Sitka Jazz Week of 2026. So I don't know if I left anything out, but you find us, and this video will be posted on Sitka Jazz Week YouTube channel. And and I don't know, anything you want to say? Last thing, John, or? I can stop the recording and then we can chat for a few more minutes. But yeah, we have some calls coming up. I just had them here actually. So this is our 2 weeks of, I think, a total of 6 Zoom calls. We will have Bernard Purdy on. We have a special surprise guest, hopefully next week as well. We had 3 years ago, our first big sponsor was the Hames Corporation in Sitka. Then 2024, we had Coca-Cola Corporation sponsoring us. And then last year, we had the great Ron Carter giving us a huge amount of money as a scholarship for the Mount Edgecombe students. So they can participate with Jazz Week again, but we are all ages. So when it comes to learning, you cannot put a number to your age. So we have a Zoom call tomorrow again. And John will be part of the Zoom call tomorrow. It's Alaska time. I think we have 2 p.m. Alaska time. Anchorage time, and then East Coast time, it will be at 6 p.m. I think we have Sergio and Terry joining us tomorrow from Boston. Then we have a Zoom call with Bernard Purdy next week, Tuesday, 10 a.m. East Coast time. If you want to join that call in Alaska, you got to get up early. Sorry. I was talking to Bernard. I had him on the phone a couple of days ago. He's like, man, I've been playing, and Celia just had a hip surgery. God bless Celia, and to a swift recovery. However, he found some time in his busy schedule. His Zoom call will be at 10 a.m. So if you want to catch Bernard Purdy live, most recorded drummer, and he just had received the Living Legend Award from the World Entertainment Award Association in Los Angeles. He couldn't go, but I took the award in his honor, and it will be shipped to us, and then we're going to Bernard, and we're going to take pictures and take a video, and that will be all over the internet very soon. So he has his call next Tuesday, February 24, 10 a.m. Same link. And then February 25th, we have a Zoom call with Sitka Mount Edgecombe High School at 12:45 Sitka time. That will be at 4:45 East Coast time. And anyone can join, and our special guest will probably be there as well. Then we have another call right after 2 p.m. Alaska time, and it will be featuring Chaz Gist and Rob Cohen from Juneau and Ketchikan. They will be having a Zoom call, and hopefully some participants from their area. And so we're kind of branching out, East Coast, West Coast, Alaska time. And we also had a participant from Denver, Colorado, Charlie Dunn, who's planning on bringing his whole band to Sitka. He's in Colorado. I'm hooking up with him, and I hope he will be on some of those Zoom calls, which are more East Coast oriented. And then we have a final call on February 28th. It's a Saturday. It's Alaska time, 10 a.m., which is 2 p.m. East Coast time. It will be based on all the vocalists. So we have most likely, for sure, Heather Gluth and past vocal participants and future vocal participants. And Phillips will hopefully be on that call as well as a special guest, but it's about Heather Gluth and all the vocalists. So these are the Zoom calls coming up. And you can find all these Zoom calls later on our YouTube channel, Sitka Jazz Week YouTube channel. So from tomorrow on, we're going to actually live stream these calls. You can find them live on our YouTube channel as well. This call of today, I'm going to upload to our YouTube channel and then post it on our social media site. So this is our little heads up for tomorrow and the calls coming up for next week. So we are fully loaded. And again, the reason we're doing these calls right now is based on the fact that airfare is cheap. Hotels are half price. And this is a great time to make your summer plans, to sign up, and maybe you can swing around Juneau, Ketchikan. And John, when we talk about the tour, so what we have been doing for the last 2 years, 2024 and 2025, the faculty of Sitka Jazz Week is going on the road after Sitka Jazz Week. So last year we have been to Juneau. Right after we played the Crystal Saloon, we did an amazing live recording. We just got the files for that. Then we went to Ketchikan. And then we went into the Anchorage area, and maybe you want to talk about it. We played a beautiful Presbyterian church, and we had a live stream there as well. Then we went to some music programs in, I think we went to Wasilla, was it correct? And we did some, anyway, you go ahead. But we did a tour, and we're going to do the tour again. Our goal is to come to Homer, hopefully to play there, or the Kenai Peninsula. And so we're branching out a little bit, doing more workshops, bring the Jazz Week vibe, so to speak, to your Southeast and Alaska neighborhood. And then who knows, maybe at one point we're going to do a national tour. I don't know. I mean, it's happening. So go ahead, John. And thanks again for listening to this information. And I already gave you the link, sitkajazzweek.org. And then you can find us on Instagram and Facebook. John, go ahead. You can close out. And thank you so much.
Yeah, as I was saying, Alaska, as time goes down, is getting to be it's a huge state with a small population, but as the communities grow up and develop artistically, especially within the jazz community, we know that we need to think locally, but act more globally. within our state and outside of our state. And so we're partnering up through our jazz touring after the camp and at the camp and at my camp up in Anchorage. We're going on our 39th camp here, August 3 through the 8th this year at the University of Alaska Anchorage.
That's huge. Congratulations.
Six bands and 46 musicians, students of all ages, come to our camp. But anyways, the idea is that we're trying to spread our passion and our joy for playing this great creative style of music, that you make music from the inside out. It's self-expression. So much of musical training today is people reading notes off the page, so playing from the outside in, and they don't work with the communication skills side to side. Like, you don't know who's sitting next to you in the orchestra, your stand partner, like in schools and things like that. So we promote understanding of different viewpoints through our playing and promoting our good energy. Face it, we're ministering to our population wherever we play to take people on a musical journey to hopefully make their day better. I mean, like with our Monday night jazz sessions up here, what better way to start out the week than going to hearing a bunch of creative players play and have a wonderful conversation? People walk out of that place every night saying, thank you so much, thank you. And so that's the same thing when we go to Ketchikan, or we go to Juneau, or we come up to Anchorage and play, or Wasilla, or wherever, is they walk out and they go, wow, thank you so much, thank you. Oh, we really like that. And I get notes back all the time saying, I can't believe you guys came to our community. This is so cool. And it just made me walk on clouds for 2 weeks after you were here.
You know, that I just heard Alex Serio, who is the executive director of the Sitka Music Festival, working closely with Zul Bailey. He told us the story when he came to Sitka last summer. He actually heard people talk about Sitka Jazz Week. So we're kind of in our fourth year at a point where we are really becoming important for the community. I mean, people really looking forward to Jazz Week, and the community is involved, and they can come to all those events for free, except for our Jazz Gala, which is really special, you know, turf and surf and cruise and all. I mean, you really get everything on that cruise, and the food is pretty amazing, right? Anyway,
Oh, yeah.
so what we're doing is affecting the community, and affecting the community positive, you know. So anyway, again, thanks, John. I cannot thank you enough for all your support and inspiration officially on Zoom. So one more time, thanks a million. And we're gonna keep going and doing the Zoom call tomorrow. And we have a few more people on tomorrow. And as I said, you know, after the goodbye, I'm just gonna stop the recording. We can talk for a minute. And so thanks again. Thank everyone for listening. If you're inspired, go and check it all out.
Yeah, remember, learning happens when you're curious. So people stay alive because they're curious. So if you want to have a long, prosperous, healthy life, balanced life, stay curious and keep learning.
Amen.